She stood at my gate with her sunglasses on, clipboard clutched tight, acting like she owned everything she saw. Behind me, the mansion, my 100-year-old masterpiece that I'd spent months restoring, glowed softly in the morning sun. But her voice sliced right through the peaceful moment like a razor. "You've got exactly 24 hours to pay the HOA dues, or we'll have this property demolished." I actually laughed, thinking this had to be some kind of joke. "You must be kidding. This house was abandoned for decades. There is no HOA out here." Her lips curled into that trademark sharp, fake Karen smile. "There is now," she replied, waving a stack of printed papers. "The entire neighborhood is under new management. That includes your mansion." Before I could even get a word out, a sheriff's truck rolled in, dust swirling around its tires. The man climbed out with heavy boots crunching over the gravel, one hand resting casually on his belt. "Sir, we got a report that you're refusing to comply with HOA orders," he said, tone stiff, eyes icy. My heart thudded, not from fear, but from sheer disbelief. Comply? With a woman who popped up out of nowhere claiming she owned my land. Karen folded her arms tightly. "You're trespassing on HOA property, mister. We have the right to enforce compliance." The sheriff nodded slightly, already looking like he'd chosen a side. "You got proof of ownership?" I stepped back, glancing at the old brass plaque I'd polished myself. "Registered historical property. Built 1922. "Proof," I said slowly. "Yeah, I've got plenty. But first, answer me this: since when doesn't HOA get to send law enforcement?" Karen smirked. Since I took over, something snapped into place in my head. The sheriff's uniform wasn't standard issue. His badge looked off. The truck didn't have proper county markings. My gut screamed that I wasn't dealing with real law enforcement at all. So I played along. "All right," I said calmly. "You want payment? Let's step inside. I'll grab the paperwork." Karen's eyes flickered with hesitation. "No need for that," she snapped. "We'll handle this outside." But I was already walking toward the front door, pretending not to notice how her so-called sheriff shadowed me a little too closely. Inside, the cameras I'd installed blinked silently from every corner: motion sensors, facial recognition, full audio. I wasn't just restoring a mansion. I was protecting a piece of history. As I shut the door behind me, my phone buzzed. A message from my brother. "You were right. Those HOA letters are fake. The company doesn't exist in county records." My pulse steadied. I turned toward the door where their silhouette stretched across the frosted glass. "All right," I whispered. "Let's see how far you're willing to take this little performance." That's when I saw movement: Karen signaling the sheriff, and him reaching for something at his belt. He pulled out a folded sheet, but his hand lingered near his holster just long enough to send a clear message. This wasn't paperwork. This was intimidation. I cracked the door open halfway, keeping my phone angled so the camera caught everything. Karen's voice rose, sharp and self-assured. "This property is condemned. You cannot remain here until the HOA inspection is complete." I raised an eyebrow. "Condemned by who?" "You?" She thrust the document toward me, and immediately I spotted the flaws: blurry county seal, mismatched fonts, a date from 2 years ago. "Nice try," I murmured. Her face tightened. "Are you accusing me of something?" I smiled faintly. "Just noticing you printed your official notice from Google." The sheriff barged forward, snatching the paper from her and stabbing a finger at me. "You either pay now, or we take this to court. HOA dues and penalties. $42,000. $42,000. I nearly burst out laughing. For a neighborhood with 3 empty houses and a dirt road. Karen snapped. "That's the law here." I leaned on the doorframe, calm now. "Actually, I am the law here." She blinked. "Excuse me. You should have done your homework," I said. "Before restoring this mansion, registered it under a preservation trust. Any legal action goes through the state, not some made-up HOA." The sheriff's jaw tightened. He glanced at Karen like she'd omitted an important detail. "You said this guy was a squatter." Her eyes darted, cracks forming in her confidence. He is. I saw him move in." "He's lying." I stepped closer, voice low and steady. "I've got every document: ownership, taxes, restoration permits, and security footage." I pointed to the tiny red light blinking on the porch. So if you're fake cops, this entire encounter is being recorded and broadcast. The sheriff froze. Karen's expression wavered, panic slipping through the arrogance. I pulled my phone out and tapped a button. The live feed streamed straight to my attorney's cloud archive. You have 10 seconds to tell me who you actually work for, I said. Karen hesitated, voice cracking. You're making a mistake. But then a black SUV barreled down the side road tinted windows. No plates. The sheriff stiffened, muttering something under his breath. Karen's confidence shattered instantly. We need to go, she stammered, grabbing his arm. But before they could retreat, the SUV door swung open, and a familiar voice rang out calm, deep, and cold. Ma'am, step away from the homeowner. You're under investigation for property fraud. Karen froze. Her fake sheriff went pale, because the real one had just arrived. The real sheriff stepped out tall, composed, authority in every step. The fake officer shifted back immediately, hand twitching near his belt, but not daring to draw. The air went still, like even the birds were watching. Sheriff Dalton, county enforcement, the real officer said, flashing his badge. Mind telling me what's happening here? Karen tried to speak first. Officer, thank goodness. This man broke into an abandoned property. Stop, Dalton barked. We've been tracking you for weeks. I know exactly who you are, Miss Reynolds. Her jaw dropped open. What? I'm the HOA president. No, Dalton corrected, pulling a thick file from under his arm. You're the same woman who's been creating fake HOA groups to extort homeowners across 3 counties. And this man, he pointed directly at the fake sheriff, is your boyfriend. Not law enforcement. The fake sheriff's jaw tightened. You don't have proof. Dalton smirked, flipping his tablet around to show crystal clear footage. Karen and her partner planting phony HOA signs, stamping fake notices, even taking staged photos wearing uniforms that didn't belong to them. Karen's face drained of color. That's not me, she whispered. I folded my arms, watching her crumble. You picked the wrong mansion, Karen. She snapped her head toward me, fury replacing fear. You set me up. Set you up? I laughed softly. You trespassed onto my land, threatened to demolish my property, and marched in with the fake sheriff to intimidate me. I just restored a house. You destroyed your own case. Dalton glanced over at me. Sir, calling this in was the right move. We've had complaints, but never caught her in person. How did you know she wasn't real? I shrugged. Her badge font was Comic Sans. Even the deputies behind the SUV snorted. Karen's glare could have cut steel, her confidence collapsing. But something in her eyes, a sharp flicker toward the tree line, told me she wasn't finished. Dalton picked up on it instantly. Don't even think about it, he warned. But before he could finish, another engine roared to life somewhere behind the mansion. Tires screeched, gravel shot into the air, and a black pickup tore down the back road. Dalton cursed under his breath. Her crew is running, he signaled his deputies, who sprinted back to their vehicles. I turned back to Karen. Crew? I repeated slowly. She smiled a cold, warped smile that didn't belong to someone caught in a lie. You think it's just me? You have no idea what you've stepped into. And right before the deputies cuffed her, she whispered something I couldn't make out, something that sent a strange chill crawling up my spine. Dalton looked at me, expression suddenly grim. Get inside and lock your doors. This isn't over. I nodded, backing toward the porch as sirens in the distance faded to an echo. But when I grabbed the doorknob, I noticed it was cracked open. I froze. I had locked it, which meant someone was already inside. The moment I pushed the door wider, the floorboards groaned like a warning. The lights flickered, and the familiar smell of dust and paint mixed with something metallic, something wrong. I moved carefully, each step slow and deliberate. Then, upstairs, a soft thud vibrated through the walls. I grabbed the closest thing I could, a rusted wrench from my restoration tools, and crept up the staircase. My heart pounded, but my thoughts sharpened. Whoever was in here wasn't looking for valuables. As I rounded the corner into the upstairs hallway, I saw a shadow slip into the master study, the room where I kept every original blueprint and restoration document. The door eased open an inch. I waited. Then, calmly, I said, "You've got 10 seconds to walk out before I make a call you'll regret." Silence. I reached for the doorknob when the door exploded outward. A man lunged at me, mask half torn, it's wild with panic. I swung the wrench, knocking his arm aside, sending the fake badge on his chest skittering across the floor. He tried shoving past me, but I grabbed his jacket, yanking him into the light. Same costume, same fake credentials. Who sent you? I demanded. He hesitated, breath shaking, then whispered, Karen doesn't work alone. The houses, they're all part of it. Before I could press him further, headlights flashed through the windows, the real sheriff's SUV returning fast. The man tried to bolt, but Dalton's team stormed inside, tackling him on the stairs. Deputies began sweeping the house, room by room. Minutes later, they found something I hadn't even noticed. Behind one of the new basement walls I'd rebuilt, there was a hidden metal container. Dalton pried it open cautiously. Inside were stacks of forged property deeds, fake HOA documents, and hundreds of blank violation slips, enough to target homeowners across 3 states. He turned to me, eyes wide. You just helped us crack $1 million real estate scam. I finally exhaled, lowering the wrench. Guess this old mansion wasn't just hiding history, I said. It was hiding a crime. Karen and her entire crew were taken away that night. The mansion stood silent again, but somehow, it felt different, steadier, prouder. The same walls that once guarded secrets now stood as evidence of justice. A week later, I was standing on the porch as a local reporter wrapped up her segment. And the man who restored a century-old mansion ended up restoring justice too, she said into the camera. I offered a faint smile. I didn't do it for attention, I told her. I did it because no one threatens a man on his own land. When the camera clicked off, I looked back at the house as the evening sun cast gold across its windows, and whispered, they tried to destroy it. But instead, this mansion destroyed them. And as the American flag I'd hung on the porch drifted gently in the wind, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I hadn't just rebuilt a home. I had rebuilt what they tried to erase: freedom, truth, and the right to stand your ground.